On your mark.
And on 3, 2, 1, go. And that's where she just shot the arrow.
Yeah.
Which, that is important in that it's sending out the signal to the whole world. It's pretty fantastic and unbelievable.
That they can shoot an arrow.
But I accept it.
It is very much in line with something that you would see or hear in like Greek myths.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. It's like based in that world. All right, so you wanted to talk about this scene right here.
I just want to talk about what she's wearing. I mean, I'm older, and I am so appreciative that they were able to find that outfit for her. Because, I mean, I'm very happily married. I think your mother is absolutely, unbelievably attractive. I just think that's a really attractive, form-fitting outfit. She's beautiful there. She's extremely attractive there. So anyway, I'm appreciative of not just the art she's working on, but she's like in that scene, she's like a sculpture or a piece of art.
That's a good point.
Hair's pulled back. It's all about her shape and her form. I just think it's brilliant.
Yeah, she's wearing white.
Right. It's not PC, but it is absolutely, she's almost challenging the scene of all this beauty around her.
Oh, I see what you're
say
saying.
she's a classic beauty.
Right.
As much as all this great antiquities and art from the time. So that's how I saw it. So.
No, that makes sense. I like that.
So that was it for that. So I'll let you kind of take the lead from here. Where would you like to jump? He gets a little.
Yeah, he gets mad at Willem Dafoe.
Buddy.
Yeah, he gets mad at Willem Dafoe and swims off.
Right.
Yeah, you see he's the reluctant hero still.
So, yeah, that's a whole different story. That would take a while. All right, so let's just jump ahead.
All right, this is the history.
That's where they reflect on telling the story of the past when they ran the bad dude off.
Right. Yeah, the heroes were united.
Yeah, the gods even.
Yeah.
Right? And they were able to defeat him and he had to run away, correct?
Yes. Yeah, they were able to defeat Darkseid when he was younger.
Yeah. Of course, he doesn't look like he's aged at all.
Yeah, he's got some more armor. That's about it. So he's wearing a shirt now.
So the question becomes, at what point did he stop aging? Because he had to go from a baby to that point.
Right.
So
yeah, I think
that's a tough one to explain.
I guess the implication is they age a lot slower because this is like thousands of years ago.
Okay, that's true. All right, so who are some of these gods?
All right, so I mean, I think you have like the warriors that are men. Right. You have the Atlanteans and you have the Amazon. Right.
Right.
And then you have a Green Lantern, which is a cool nod because they've been protectors of the stars for forever, basically.
Right.
So there's always one like on Earth or on each planet or each sector of the galaxy, you know.
Right.
So that's a cool nod to DC lore. But then you also have the gods like you see Ares, who Wonder Woman defeated in the first Wonder Woman movie. You see Zeus. So you have the mythological gods and the Amazons and the Atlanteans. You have all of these characters from basically all the big players in the DC universe as far as different factions.
Mythology.
Yeah,
and Roman mythology. Okay.
So the idea, I guess, is they all united to defeat this guy, and they're the only world that defeated Darkseid, which is the big deal, right?
Right.
And that's kind of the foreshadowing for this movie is the only way they beat this guy or this invading force is for all of these disparate people with these powers to like unite as one force, right? So that's what the Justice League becomes. Is you have Batman, who's from the world of men, you have Wonder Woman, who's an Amazon, Aquaman, who's an Atlantean, Flash, he's not really a god, but he's a superhuman.
Right.
Superman is more of the god figure, but you have all these people who normally wouldn't get along, kind of uniting for a common cause, which is defeating the invading force of Darkseid.
All right, so they defeated him.
Yeah.
And
it establishes why the different mother boxes were where they were too. You know, you have
and that they were put away and protected.
Yeah.
By these different groups.
Right. They split them up and decided to each kind of keep one.
Okay. And they all did it in different ways.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's the end of part 2, really, actually.
Okay.
So we're on to part 3. So this is, I think, the entrance of the Flash. We've got Central City.
And I tell you, they do a tremendous job of telling the story of Flash's movement. It is very difficult.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to pull that off, I think is just tremendous. And I think it's beautiful. I think the way they do it and everything, that it stays within kind of the concept of looking semi-realistic, not documentary style.
Yeah.
But it has enough of Zack Snyder's influence for what the image ultimately looks like when he starts to get into that more supernatural area of movement.
You see slow motion, and you know, at first you think, okay, maybe it's just Zack Snyder being Zack Snyder, but it turns out, like, you see this dog is in the middle of barking and it just slows down, and then you see the Flash kind of turn and nothing else is moving. You're like, oh, this isn't like slow motion in the sense that we've been seeing it traditionally. This is slow motion in the sense that we're seeing how fast this dude's moving.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. It was very cool how they were able to illustrate how fast and how powerful he was when he moved, because, you know, he basically pivots in place to run and save this woman.
Yes.
And his shoes just split.
Yeah.
Like by turning his body. I mean, his shoes just fall apart as he basically runs out of them.
But
you see the lightning.
He moved until now.
You see the lightning,
and then the dog.
Right. That gives you the cue that something's up.
Right.
All this stuff's in slow motion.
I wonder how much of this is 3D versus actual, like a camera shooting at 1200 frames per second type thing.
That's a good question.
It would be interesting to find
this
out.
is what I wanted to talk about, though. Just him splitting this glass by touching it.
Right.
What was cool, I thought, was you saw it ripple. Like there was a.
Right.
From like when you hit something and it vibrates, it did that before it shattered, but he was able to shatter it with his finger.
Well, it almost looked like he generated so much heat that it almost went back to that state of blown glass.
Right, okay.
So I think that's what happened, is that because glass would just shatter in its pure state of hardness.
I see what you're saying.
But by doing that, it superheated it to the point where it became more like its blown state. Okay. And then shattered as it cooled.
Yeah.
Was my take on it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's accurate or not. And then this is the comic relief in these situations.
Relieving the tension a little bit.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was cool when he slows down, the pavement just starts kicking up, you know?
Stole a hot dog.
And he's being very, like, deliberate and slow with his movements, and you would think he's got to, like, hurry up and save this girl, but when you see how he's been affecting the environment around him, like, if he just runs in and snatches her out of the air, she's dead. Like, how he actually has to catch her is how he does here, where he's got to be, like, super slow and deliberate with his movements.
Right.
Because she's basically not moving.
And everything going on around him. Imagine the calculations he's doing in his mind. So people don't realize his mind has to be as fast as his movement, because he's got to calculate all the motion that's going on, and how does he manage her in all that chaos. You don't give him credit for being brilliant. He's actually, his mind
he is very smart.
He may have the quickest thought process of any of them.
Yeah, and I think it's cool. You see all the stuff happen after the fact. So he's already disappeared, and the glass finally hits the ground.
Right.
You know, and he's back in the store with these dogs. Like,
acting like he don't even know anything happened.
Yeah.
I think what's tough here for some people to understand, unless they've had it happen to them, I will relate my own story. I'm 6 years old. I go try out for baseball for the little Dixie Youth or whatever, Little League or whatever, and it turns out I'm pretty good at it. First pick every year, et cetera, et cetera. I go through my whole life thinking I'm just going to play professional sports. Get to college, end up having to have surgery, couldn't play again, all taken away from me. And then my father died soon after that, who was a huge, wonderful figure in my life. So here you have a kid that's in high school,
Right.
and he's the star player.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. He's got all this going for him.
Right.
Okay? And he has a father that's absent because his father's a brilliant guy too. And his father thinks that he's not good at balancing his family and
his work-life balance
he's having to do.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't realize is Einstein was a horrible husband and father, but a brilliant mathematician, obviously.
Very difficult to be good at both.
It's very difficult to be a balanced human being, period, because his father probably derived, knowingly or unknowingly, more pleasure from his work than he did from his family. Okay, and so consciously or subconsciously, he went that way. What is sad is this boy that was so brilliant at everything he was doing didn't get his father's recognition. Got his mother's, but not his father's. So once you understand that, then you understand his anger. You understand why he hates his father for the time. You understand why he is how he is. And so it was easy for me to understand that. I hope other people were able to feel that, because I think it's important to his story.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he doesn't, and it's not just that he hates his dad. Like, Wonder Woman comes up at one point and is like, hey, you need to help us save the world, all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, screw the world. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, because his life is over.
Right.
All the stuff that, you know, playing football, all the stuff that he looked forward to is gone. His mom.
Thinks he has no purpose now.
And his mom, who was the only one of his parents that was there for him, that actually recognized him and all that stuff, she's dead. So, like, who does he have in his life?
Yeah, she was killed in the accident.
Right, so there's no one in his life that he actually feels like cares about him.
His work
Right.
to deal with the death of his wife.
Yeah, so he's alone and has no future in his eyes.
Right. Yeah, so tough situation.
Yeah. Very, very believable. And I thought it was very cool at the end of the movie how he comes to, like, I don't want to say accept in the sense of, like, accept, like, this is just the new normal because it sucks, but, like, accept is in a positive way. He accepts his new life.
Well, I think he realizes it's no different than being the quarterback on the football team. It's no different from excelling in his studies. It's his purpose now. I mean, it's a thing that he now recognizes. This is who I am. I accept who I am. I'm going to move forward. Look, I was in the hospital 4 months, laid up with not being able to do what I was preparing to do for 15 years. And you're sitting there and you have to make a decision. You decide, hey, am I going to quit, give up, and not have anything to do with people and retreat from society and just be sad for yourself?
Right.
Or do you find something new? And what was interesting, an ex-Mrs. Delaware who ran like the children's program at the DuPont Institute where I was, brought me a notebook, an art book, and paper, art, paper, and pencils, and said, hey, why don't you try drawing? You said you liked to draw when you were a child. And that got me into everything that I do now.
Right.
So it gave me, hey, I could be pretty good at this. Focus on it. And the only downside of that is that once you become creative, in a sense, if you're not creative, you can easily get depressed. So I'm driven by wanting to learn new things, challenge myself in new things. And it doesn't even have to be art. It doesn't even have to be work, but anything and everything, I need a challenge in order to not become bored and sedentary. If you're just watching this for the first time, you don't know the story of Flash, you're sitting here going, huh?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it tells you kind of his character motivation. He's motivated by his dad, who was wrongfully imprisoned for the murder of his mother.
Right, by Future Flash.
Yeah, which we don't learn in this movie, but yes, it is the reverse Flash.
Right.
Anyway, what I thought was interesting was you have this, not a paradox, but a seeming contradiction between, you know, he's the fastest man alive, but he's stuck on his dad. And his dad, at the end of this scene, is like, hey, I don't want you coming back to see me.
Right.
Your life is you're not moving forward in life.
Right.
You're just
stuck
so
on
the
me. Fastest man in the world can't move forward.
Right.
Right.
And what ends up being really interesting is at the end of the movie, he basically saves the world by running backwards. But that allows him to move forwards, right? Because at the end of the movie, he does move forward with his life. He's like, okay, I've got these gifts, like I need to use them for more than just like when it's convenient. Like, okay, I saw a girl, I'll save her. But like, he finds that he's got a new purpose in life too, beyond just being stuck on his dad being in prison, which is cool.
So some of these characters realize who they are by the end.